Hello, Brother Monroe here. Welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. But not to a new campaign, or not yet, but to a little overview of what I've been working on for the last month and a bit. And it's not just me who's been working on this. There's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes on the next version of the Dreadnought Improvement Project. And eagle-eyed viewers may already have spotted that down here, it actually says your running dip right here. So you can tell whether it's installed or not, which is absolutely fantastic. So I'm just going to go through some of the cool things that have been added and shout out the people who have helped make this possible. And the first one is Nathan Kell. The tweaks and fixes code mod is now essential, basically, for doing for taking UAD modding forwards. I don't think I'm going to be able to support the old way of doing it too much longer, anyway. But I will try my best until there's a version on Steam that you can revert to. But this brings a huge amount of stuff for us. Better shared design support. That's a lot more permissive. So if you have human-made designs in your shared design folder, then you're going to have a lot more stuff to choose from. Your guns and torpedoes no longer automatically increase in mark when you refit a ship. You have to press a little button to make them do it. Super useful. Really nice change. If you've been watching my Austrian campaign, that feature's already there if you're just running TAF alongside DIP version 2, but now it'll be baked in. Barbettes you can mount anywhere. There's a bunch of typo fixes. There's improvements to how conquests work. They should generally make more sense. You shouldn't have that. Well, there's a bit of a bug in the current version that I need the developers to fix, but the way invasions work should be a little bit more sensible. Ships will now have minimum armor values. Again, if you've been watching the Austrian campaign, you'll have seen that is a thing, but there is a specifically dip-tuned armor generation file that should make enemy ships properly armored. You shouldn't come across complete rubbish. Per ship type speed. So this is really helpful because it hopefully stops the AI making a tinfoil speedboat, which it seems to love. Also, there are configurable limits on how many weapons are on a ship. So what I've done in DIP version 3 is I've basically told it, have one main caliber of gun, have a secondary caliber of gun, and if you want, you can have a third tertiary caliber of gun, and that's it. So you shouldn't see ships where they've got like a bunch of 16-inch guns, a 13-inch gun, some 8s, some 7s, some 5s, some 4s, and some 2s, which the normal builder loves to do. You shouldn't see that anymore. The scrapping behavior's been improved. It should now prioritize old and small ships. So big ships it'll tend to keep around and refit instead. The version text now appears on screen. You can actually get rid of this due to the next feature, which is serialization and CSV support. So the Dreadnought Improvement Project is no longer going to be a big resources file that you stick in and replace the existing one. It's now all loose. It does make the install a little bit more tricky. I will have a completely separate video covering the install process and how to do all that when this is ready for a wider public release. But yeah, all of the files are loose and are just in a folder on your computer. You can go in and you can change all this stuff. So if you go in and change the mode, the version text mode, you can just get this to disappear, so it doesn't appear on screen anymore. Super cool. This also means it's very easy for you to just take the Dreadnought Improvement Project and tinker with it to your heart's content. As well, it also means that all the game files that are needed to run DIP are now on GitHub. So you can create a fork, do all that cool stuff. You can contribute to the project. I will put a link to the GitHub page in the description of this video, because I really do need people to help me test this, because there's quite a lot to nail down, because we've added quite a lot of stuff. That's all from adding tweaks and fixes into the mod. The mod now has hooks to access all of tweaks and fixes features that are in params, and yeah, we can tweak a lot of stuff, and it's amazing running it on this, because the big benefit is once you've installed everything, you don't have to reinstall every time the game updates. Sometimes the game updates and breaks the mod, which it did before anyway, but the number of times that you need to update has dramatically gone down, and the size of the mod file that you have to download is also way smaller, so it's much quicker to keep things updated, and most of the time you don't have to, which is really nice. Well, what's actually new on the dip side? Well, let's go to a custom battle, shall we? Oh, would you look at that? That's a bit different. Yes, that's right. Taking inspiration from the Naval Arms Race mod, a bunch of new nations have been added. Argentina has been added, which is a really interesting one, because you basically start with like one province. Very tricky country to play, but should be an interesting challenge for experienced players. As is Chile, and if I can find it, Brazil. So you can do the South American Dreadnought race if you want to. We also have Greece. This is hard mode. Greece is really difficult. You're a teeny tiny place, surrounded by large powers, but an interesting one to try and play. We have Korea. Interesting one. This is actually the country I've been playing on my testing campaign. You can go isolationist. You can try and attack. Very interesting to try and keep things under control. Obviously, Britain and all the existing ones are still there. We have Portugal now as a full country. Very interesting one to play, because you've got stuff all over the place. Which means you actually need quite a lot of ships, but you don't really have the money. Tricky one to manage, as is the Netherlands. Now, I will say there are two versions of the Netherlands in this. The default is an ahistorical Super Netherlands that never split the Benelux region. So the Netherlands starts off with all Belgian territories plus Luxembourg. By default, there is also a version that you can change if you want a historical Netherlands where Belgium still exists. But for balancing reasons and for fun, the default is a super unified Netherlands that never kind of split. And I think that split out in like 1830s, right? So it's an alternate history. The reason I did that for game balancing reasons is, well, I'll load into a map, a starting map, and show you that. But one of the things with making these minors majors now is that there's no longer say you're playing Germany. The Netherlands is now no longer a country that you can't really interact with. You can't attack. You can't do anything with. Now you can. If you're playing Japan and you want to take the Dutch East Indies, you can. They're no longer a minor country that can't be attacked. They are a player, and they are treated as such. Same with Portugal. If you're playing Spain, was a real weird thing, because like I had this happen to me a few times when playing in Spain. Portugal allies itself with something like the United States. They've got loads of ships that they could just keep buying, and you can't invade them. You can't take them out. Well, now you can. And there's another one that has been added, and that's the Ottomans. So again, if you were playing as, say, Austria, and you really want to take over the Ottoman territories, but you kind of have to rely on RNG to do it, now that's no longer the case. So there's a lot more going on, a lot more, and there is Brazil, and I think that is it. Yes, so we have a lot more. A lot more going on. Now, in terms of hulls, these guys have a completely different mixture compared to the way that they've been implemented in the naval arms race. Also, Korea is new. But all of these countries have flags that I have tried to make vaguely historical. Sometimes they're not. It's very much straying into alt history at this point. But that's not the only improvements I made. Wow, that's an interesting choice. It's not the only improvement I have made to the campaign. Man, let's just hit quick start and see what it does. One of the things that I found really weird is how the game handed out the provinces, and I've made some slightly ahistorical choices, but I think most people start the game in 1890, and there's quite a lot of changes in territory between 1890 and 1900 that make quite a big difference to how the game plays, and the strategic positions. For instance, the United States should really have control of Pearl Harbor, even though technically they didn't in 1890. The other things I've changed are things like Canada is now just straight up part of the UK. And in fact, whatever year you start as the UK, all the dominions are now just part of the UK, because the way Canada, Australia, etc. worked, they were just a regular minor country that would end up allied to all sorts of weirdness, which is less historical, in my opinion, than the British Empire and the Commonwealth fighting together as it historically did. So yeah, apologies if you are if you missed the Maple Leaf, which is also ahistorical, by the way, because the Maple Leaf was a later flag outside the main timeline of the game. It would have been the red one with the shield on it. But yeah, Canada is now part of Britain. Egypt is now part of Britain at game start as well. So Britain is considerably more powerful in their strategic opening position. As well, I am now able to go through and make changes to port capacities. So certain ports have been boosted significantly. Places like Gibraltar, Singapore, I'm trying to think of the other ones that I boosted. Pearl Harbor, and various others that basically mean that kind of the historical huge naval bases that were built in relatively small islands and parts of the world have been boosted significantly, and that makes playing as Britain or the United States much easier, and makes places like Gibraltar a much more of a significant game. Also, if you're playing any of the Mediterranean powers, the Royal Navy is now genuinely scary because they can completely block access in and out of the Med. You have been warned. That's not all. There's been a huge amount of work behind the scenes, thanks to Rocket, who very kindly offered to take over looking at all of the parts and hulls and things. And there's been a lot of tweaks and improvements, changes to gun models, changes to scaling. That's still a work in progress as I'm recording this, but will be kind of done by the time this goes out into beta. And that is a huge amount of work, and it just makes things nicer. So really ugly or weird choices have been removed. Strange stats that made no sense have been altered. Resistance has been lowered generally because there's just issues with resistance. So base resistance has been turned down on the very, very high-end hulls. Other things have been improved. For instance, cruisers, both light and heavy cruisers, they now don't like using single-barreled guns. There's a great suggestion that's just been added very recently. Yeah, they should now want to use dual barrels, triple barrels, a lot more, and they shouldn't really be going for single barrels. What else? Oh, goodness. Yes, the new pre-generated design system that currently in this particular version is not supported, but that's only because I have to sit and let my computer run the generator to make all of the designs. There will, on public release, be not one but 2 batches of pre-generated ships for you to use, which massively increases performance. The first one is literally just a bunch of AI designs, just the AI sitting there chunking away. So basically, I have sat and just left my computer running. I'm up to about 1905, but it takes forever to do it. And there'll be about 100,000 ships in that pack, covering all years, all nations, so that if you want to run on the quick modes, they will work, and they should work really well. There will also be a batch of human-made designs for most of the nations. In fact, I think all the nations. That is a smaller pack, but will have a higher priority if you're using the fast modes. So you might end up facing against some really high-end designs, and this will make things really quite interesting, I think. The other thing as well is I have tweaked the difficulties a bit, because I personally found that you play on a high difficulty, what you're really wanting is to face off against really nasty, advanced, well-designed ships. That's what most people expect. But the way it actually worked is like it's a horde mode, which isn't ideal, in my opinion. Oh, now you disappeared. So what I have done is now on standard difficulty, the AI gets a little bit of a monetary boost. Not much, about 10% more than if it was a player nation. And that's just to help out the fact that the AI is usually pretty terrible. The economic impact of war has been toned down a little bit as well. Tension mechanics have been reworked so that AI nations shouldn't be at war all the time. A feature that I haven't implemented yet, but I do want to implement, is if there's a war going on where no one has scored any victory points in like a year, i.e. it's a 0-0 draw, then the war just ends, it triggers the peace deal, and there's a white peace, because I find it ridiculous. Oh, that is... Oh, the Netherlands. Oh, I like that. What have you built here? I'm getting distracted. 15.2-inch guns. Not super well armoured, and it's not fast, but that's a lot of firepower. Yeah, so there's a ton of improvements. There's a ton of improvements still to come. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing a campaign with all these new nations. And I will be playing a campaign as one of the new nations. I haven't decided which just yet, but TBD. You can let me know in the comments which ones you'd like to see. I'll maybe do it as a poll. It's gonna be really cool, and I think this is gonna really breathe some new life into the game. There's a lot more going on, and there's a lot of tweaks and improvements, and I need your help. I'm just me. The time I can dedicate to doing the Dreadnought Improvement Project it's limited, particularly in terms of testing. Because if I have time to play Dreadnoughts, then I'd rather be recording content. So it's hard for me to test the game. If you are interested in joining in and testing this and giving feedback, I am very open to it. As I said earlier, you can join the GitHub and have a look at the files directly and help out that way, but you don't have to. Most of the feedback is done through the community Discord that I have. So if you're not already a member of my Discord, that is the best way to get involved with testing this. There are install instructions on how to get this working, which is a little bit of a convoluted process. One of the things I will do for when this goes into public beta, which is the next step, is there will be a self-installer for this, because I am aware it is a little bit complex, but there is currently an issue with this requires you to have Melon Loader installed for Ultimate Admiral, and there's currently that's not too difficult, but there is a slight issue with it that makes it a little bit more complicated than it needs to be, and we need Melon Loader to help us fix it. So hopefully that gets sorted out to make the install process easier. But yes, I'm very excited about this. I really am looking forward to showing off what this can do, and showing off all these cool new features. So I'm going to say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Bye bye for now.